Hey, welcome back to another story from the family records. Every week I pull records at random from my family collection. I listen to them 3 times, and in that time I figure out the story of the album, the music, and the musicians who created it. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a new pull, and we're dropping shorts all the time so you don't want to miss one of those either. And if you like any of that stuff, hitting the like button helps a ton. I appreciate it, and it shows the videos to more people on YouTube. So thank you. Losing your job is something most people worry about at some point in their lives. It's an event that can completely change so many things, and yet so many of us end up going back to the same type of situation and doing the same type of things all over again. When Bryan Ferry lost his job teaching ceramics for holding impromptu record listening sessions, he made an advertisement looking for a keyboardist to collaborate with him and his friend Graham Simpson on some music they were making. That personal ad was the start of an 18-month journey that culminated in the release of today's album. Let's drop the needle on Roxy Music. When Andy McKay responded to that personal ad, it wasn't to play keyboards. He was a saxophonist and oboist. But he did have an EMS VCS-3 synthesizer, which was portable for the time, and he had somebody who knew how to use it, Brian Eno. Eno and McKay knew each other from university. Both were interested in electronic and avant-garde music, and though Eno was not a musician, he knew how to operate the synthesizer. He also owned a Revox reel-to-reel tape machine, so McKay convinced him to join the band as a technical advisor. Eno quickly became a full member. While they searched for a place to make their record, Roxy Music continued to rehearse and rework their compositions, honing their songs and their craft. Peter Sinfield, co-founder of King Crimson, had met Bryan Ferry in early 1970 when Ferry had auditioned to be the lead vocalist for King Crimson. Sinfield had decided Ferry's voice wasn't right for Crimson, but had been impressed with his talent. And in addition to helping Roxy Music get a contract with EG Management, Sinfield would also act as producer on their debut album. Command Studios in London was selected for the recording sessions, and as no record deal had been secured yet, EG Management put up £5,000 of their own money to get the record made. Suddenly, what had been a slow build to that point became a breakneck sprint to the finish line. According to interviews with members of the band, the recording sessions were intense and focused, with long hours put in daily to get the right sound. The album was finished in 2 weeks, a deadline imposed by the limited budget. Ferry has said that he worked closely with Sinfield on every aspect of the recording process, and the sessions have been described as collaborative, with every member of the band contributing to the arrangements and the sound of the album. Improvisation and experimentation have also been cited as critical elements of the recording process, with Brian Eno's contributions to the album being ones that helped to push the band in new directions. The story goes that both the album and the cover art were completed before the band signed their record deal. According to A&R staffer Tim Clark, he argued strongly that Island Records should contract Roxy Music, but company boss Chris Blackwell seemed unimpressed, and Clark assumed he was not interested. A few days later, Clark was standing in the hallway of the Island offices examining cover images for the album when Blackwell walked past, glanced at the artwork, and said, "Looks great! Have we got them signed yet?" The band signed with Island a few days later. Released in June of 1972, Roxy Music featured no singles and sold poorly. Critical opinions were divided, with some finding the band's style too pretentious and over the top, while others lauded the progressive music and production. In July of 1972, the band recorded 2 more songs, Virginia Plain and The Numberer, and they were released as a single, which peaked at number 4 on the UK charts and helped push sales of Roxy Music, which ended up going to number 10. Roxy Music the album helped establish Roxy Music the band and its members, who changed the landscape of music through their collective and solo offerings. It has come to be regarded as an essential album, being described 20 years after its release as totally original and a breath of bizarre air. Sounds good to me. And yeah, so my final thoughts, which start off with this album, and start off with the fact that I didn't flip the album around right away. And we're just going to start playing a game with this now every day, where we figure out when Patrick remembered to flip the album over. So it was late today, but I thought side 1 of this album honestly was a bit more average. With side 2 though, once I turned it over the first time, because my dad had said this album was like kind of out there at the time, but to be honest, I didn't think as much. Like in terms of, he was saying like it was very progressive and didn't sound like a lot of other things. Gotta disagree. I think there's actually a lot of classical inspiration on this album, and you can tell on a lot of the instrument pieces. But definitely, yeah, when we hit side 2, much stronger, much more experimental, a lot more interesting like sound design on it. That's why I really like that. It's a good album though overall. I mean, as I kept listening to it, right? And side 1 has like all the hits on it, but although it doesn't have all the hits, because that Virginia Plain song, like I said, was one they recorded after they originally pressed this album. And this album is one of the original pressings because it has some old graphics on it, which we can talk about. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't do a short story about Virginia Plain because it's not on this album. In another story I didn't really get into, but was that the Fairies' buddy there, Mr. Simpson, he left the band pretty much right after this album came out. He was just kind of withdrawn and dealing with some stuff. So I didn't get to talk about that, but that's another reason I know this is sort of an older printing, because his picture gets replaced pretty quickly. Talking about some other stuff really quickly here. This is not going to be too long of a goodbye here. But so the Derby shorts from Friday, I was a little late on putting those together because of some stuff that I'm going to talk about in a second here. But basically, yeah, I was just a little late on the production of those. So I got everything out kind of on time in terms of, there was a short this morning, there was a short yesterday, Sunday, and there was a short on Saturday, which was the music from Friday. Because I only had 2 shorts, so that's why it was 1 thing per day, basically. But the Sunday dropped late because I was behind on my production. And that's because my dog passed away on Friday. So on Friday? Yeah. Yeah, on Friday. So while I was working on the edits for Derby for that evening, sort of around noon, I realized I was going to have to take her to the vet. And yeah, so that took a bunch of time out of my day, and then it also just threw off my whole day, basically. So I still was able to get videos out because of the way that I've been working. I was decently far ahead, but yeah, it's been a tough couple of days, and so just the video coming out late today was sort of a result of that. I should be back on schedule now. Today's also Easter, and just unfortunately, like, it's not anybody's fault, but just unfortunately, like, I wanted to do 2 records today to get my extra one in and catch up. I still won't be able to because the way that my day was working out, I got this whole album written and done and ready to record. And then my sister had said that she wanted to do a phone call, so I had sort of taken the time to go do those Derbies so I could be on the phone with her. And then she ended up being late, just threw stuff on. And like I said, I'm not blaming anybody. This is not me putting blame on anybody. This is just me saying that it just wasn't the ideal way for my afternoon to work out for me to get all the work done. So now at this point, what I'm planning on doing is finishing this recording and then the shorts. Then I'm going to go downstairs and just edit everything all evening as much as I can. And that way, then tomorrow I can record another one, and then Tuesday I can record another one, and then Tuesday is my normal record day. So then I'm back on schedule. I've got a client on Wednesday, and then I can record more on Thursday, have my videos all done for the weekend, and then I've got work on the weekend also. So anyway, it's good. It's not a bad thing. It's just unfortunate. Like, I was hoping that by this point in the day, I would almost be working on my next, because like I was going to go dump these files and then start listening to the next album. That's not going to happen now. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It's just I'm still an episode behind is basically what I'm saying. And I know that, and I'm not going to let that slide. So 99% this week, there will be the extra album. There was already plans on it being today, and it just, unfortunately, due to things, and like I said, that's sort of been the case with a few of these things. There's just been things outside of my control, but things are getting more under control, and yes, we're going to have that extra album, I swear to God. Carrie. Yeah, but otherwise, episode is the best one yet. I'm just working really hard on trying to get better at these all the time and increase the, and I'm really appreciating any comments that I'm seeing of people just telling me like, hey, like, what do you think about this thing? This is not to say that I'm immediately reactive to comments either, because I obviously have to have my own path for this and follow that and be resolute in like what I think is good. But at the same time, I really appreciate input from the outside and from other perspective, because like I don't have that perspective obviously because I'm just me. So that's like where the short stories came from. Is someone was like, hey, da, 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 and I was like, oh my god, that's a great idea. So anyways, that's just a way of me saying leave comments and let me know what's bad about these videos so that I can make better. I'm at like 80 subscribers now. Let's get to 100. Hit the sub button. I would really appreciate that. And then once we get to 100, hey, I'm on my push to 1,000. So we'll never stop. And man, I hope that I'm looking back on this in like a year and I've got like 1 million subs. That would be crazy. Or 100,000 subs maybe. Like I don't want to like play myself, but a nice number would be cool. And yeah, that would let me do a lot more of the stuff that I'm doing, and that I'm going to start hopefully really getting into the swing of this week and getting my scheduling all good for that, and just getting caught up on everything. So anyways, I feel like this has been like one of my worst after talks, but I'm just like, it's just a weird spot for me right now. So anyway, this is all to say this episode, as like weird as it is, sorry girl, but it's dedicated to my dog ROUSSEAU, who passed away. Love you so much, girl. You and Sawyer are a big part of the reason that I do all this. That's the reason that my personal company is named after Sawyer. Like there's just, yeah, you guys have always kind of inspired me. So this is for you, girl. Love you. Miss you.